Hi, and welcome to this special Pizza Gary presentation. I'm Pizza Gary, and I'm delighted that you've decided to take a look at the thinking and the process to install a wood-fired oven. For centuries, wood-fired ovens have been part of everyday life. Historically, they were a communal oven where residents in a town would gather to bake their bread. In fact, they say that's how pizza was first created. While waiting for the oven to burn down to embers so it would be cool enough for cooking bread, someone apparently took a little leftover dough and put a couple of slices of local tomato on it and tossed it into the hot oven. Presto! Pizza. And we've been eating it ever since. Pizza is one of the world's most loved foods, and we do consume a lot of it. But you haven't decided to look at this program to learn how to make pizza. That's on another training series. You're interested in installing a wood-fired oven at your place. I've been cooking pizzas at home for over 20 years, and I've spent lots of time in trial and error to make the perfect gourmet pizza. Until recently, I thought I was doing pretty well. Compared to the dial-a-death disc from the local pizzeria, mine seemed to be better. I was making them in the oven in the kitchen. Now, over the years, I've used lots of different types and styles of ovens, and they all do basically the same thing. My rule was heat it up as hot as it'll go, and then cook your pizza. My current oven is a commercial-style oven. It's a non-convection oven, and it does get pretty hot. I've always used a baking stone in the oven to simulate the floor in a true pizza oven. It's a vital part of making a pizza in a normal oven. It's a thick quarry stone that's heated for an hour or so, and it does a good job. And I thought I was making the world's best pizzas at home until now. Since installing the wood-fired oven, I and everyone who knows my pizzas have discovered a completely different product. It's because the wood-fired oven cooks at a much, much higher temperature than a normal oven. And because of that, the dough acts differently, and I think better. And of course, there is the added flavor of the hint of smokiness that only comes from a wood fire. I still do go to other people's houses and make a Pizza Gary pizza. I roll up with my baking stone, ready for action. And you can get a pretty good pizza in almost any oven. But nothing beats the pizzas that come from a wood-fired oven here at home. So where do you start? Well, I've spent years looking at wood ovens and the prospect of having one at home. Every restaurant that had one probably wondered why that I spent so much time measuring up ones in their kitchen. Books, the internet, and personal visits to places that had wood-fired ovens made me more mesmerized by the magic of the fire in that domed oven that produced such wonderful pizza. The first consideration, of course, had to be made. Do we want to put it in the barbecue area outside the house, or should it be in the house? Well, of course, you would need a pretty big room to put the dome inside, and I clearly wanted to have access from inside the house because carrying a pizza in from the outside on a cold winter's night just didn't appeal. For you, a major consideration would be, do I have the right space to make the installation? Now, my kitchen was not set up in a way that would allow it to be included within it, so I turned the dining room into a pizzeria. We would build the oven dome and its support outside. We'd cover it with a proper roof and match it up to the house. Then punch a hole in the side of the dining room from outside to allow access from inside the house. And then we'd build a hearth inside to match the oven door and make the whole thing look like it had been there all along. So choose your site well and mark it out. Make sure that the place is right. For me, it was an extension to the house. So even if it is in the barbecue area, good planning is vital. Okay, so I had a plan. And then the search began for the oven itself. 6 months of searching. Local builders who claim they could make one from scratch, which, by the way, is possible. You'll find that plans do exist on the internet, and it might even be a little tiny bit cheaper. I talked to local suppliers of pre-cast ovens, and then international suppliers who would send me the perfect oven. A lot of choices, and therefore a lot of confusion. That could be why you are looking at this program, to get some answers. Do you go for a pre-cast unit, one that you assemble in pieces, One with a flue in the back, one with a flue in the center. How about a flue at the front of the dome? How big should it be? Small and compact sounded pretty good when I first started looking, but after lots and lots of research, I finally came across an expert. He sold an imported product. His name was William. He was from a company in Australia called Refrax. Boy, did he answer a lot of questions and give me focus and direction with my plans. It's true that once you connect with a supplier who truly knows what they're doing, it will make the process a lot easier for you. The product that he sells is a precast oven that is assembled in 4 pieces, plus the pieces for the floor. It's made in Italy, and the company name is Alpha Caminetti. Their website for international pizza nuts is www.alphacaminetti.com. And they would certainly have distributors in other countries as well, so I'd check them out. By the way, in Australia, William is available at www.refrax.com.au. What size? Well, small is easy to install, and at home we're only cooking a pizza or 2 at a time. But with research, I discovered that the bigger the oven is, the more efficient it is. And once you get a fire in a small oven, it's really pretty hard to maneuver anything else in it. So I found bigger is better in the long run. So after much consideration, I decided on an oven with a 1.2 meter floor and an arch in the front. It looked great in the brochure, and just as great when installed. Once you decide on the oven that you do want, there are many considerations to installing it properly. The first is any local planning building requirements. Find out what building permit is needed and get expert advice. You'll particularly need to be aware of the fluing requirements for the chimney. Get your builder to check the legal requirements. And remember that special attention must be paid to hazards related to combustible surfaces. All the requirements of local safety authorities must be adhered to. This is a fairly complex construction job. You don't just whack it in a day or so. We budgeted for 2 weeks to make the installation, and that included all of the work outside as well as inside. And our project did take a little longer than that. The oven arrived perfectly crated from the factory in Italy. Not one chip or a crack. Perfect. We unpacked it with lots of anticipation and put it together on the veranda to see how it all went together. It looked pretty simple, and it truly is. Remember, this is an ancient cooking tool used by and made by peasants for centuries. Not too much high tech. But once you do see what's involved, the high tech is there, but pretty invisible. After seeing the casting and the special considerations to making the oven efficient, there is no way that I would ever attempt to make one myself or have one made by someone who thinks they can do it. I've seen where people have tried to make their own oven. It's an interesting project, but my feeling is, if you want it done right, get one from the experts in building them. The instructions for installation were pretty clear, but William still had a daily phone call from the builder and I just to make sure that we were on the right track. He really helped a lot and gave us the confidence that we were doing the right thing step by step.